Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. I posted a video and some stuff on Twitter earlier on in the week saying that I had the new Strix X370 F AM4 Ryzen gaming motherboard, and I was kind of asking people whether they would like to wait and have a fully fledged, in-depth, all of the mumbo jumbo review, or whether you would like me to pick out some bullet points and rattle it out before all of the blue team stuff next week. I know a lot of people, a lot of you out there are not even going to be in the slightly interested in that, which is why I asked, and a lot of you said you would like to have a quick look. So, rather than doing a preview, I've done a load of tests, I've played around with the overclocking and done all the important stuff, so I've boiled it all down. Let's see if we can't keep this video under an hour. So first of all, I've transplanted the board into the Ryzen gaming build that I did a few weeks ago. If you've not seen the video, go and take a look. It did mean that I could show you the lights, which I'm going to do in a sec anyway. And it also kind of, I think this is a really kind of good way to utilise the design of the board, but also with all of the lighting and stuff. So it's kind of monochrome, and you'll see why I've gone that way in a minute. So with the graphics card out of the way, we can have a quick spin around the board where I'm going to point out the major features for you rather than doing it in my hands like I normally would. We've got 8 SATAs down the side on this right hand side there. We have an M.2 connector over here, which does do up to 110 millimeters. We've got 2 USB 3s down the bottom, vertical. Might be a little bit difficult, but most of the USB 3 connectors now are quite long, so it should handle it down the bottom. Next to the USB 3, we only have one USB 2 connector down the bottom, which if you've got a power supply that links into the system and an AIO that does the same thing with USB, that may be an issue for you. But don't forget, you can get USB 2 hubs now if you want, or you could get yourself a cable adapter to go from the USB 3, and then it will give you an internal USB 2 connector. So you've got a couple of options for yourselves there. We've got your 2 main PCI Express here, and then all of the other ones, basically the black ones that haven't got the metal shielding, they are actually all coming off of the chipset. So you can't put a third graphics card in Crossfire if you wanted, because it doesn't work that way. Although you could, if you were mining, for argument's sake, you could use that for a mining card, or if they're not going to be all connected up. So you've got those options as well. Fan headers, you have 3 along the top, along this edge. You've got a CPU normal, CPU optional, and then you have an AIO pump header, which gives you a full amp on that one. And then just looking on the right hand side, there's nothing down this right hand side edge at all, but you then do get another fan header down at the very bottom here, and then there's another one for your rear fan if you want to do it that way, just up here, kind of where you would expect it anyway, although I've got my rear fan wired into the rear CPU optional. You do get, just here, you can see this connector here, that is your top RGB connector for Aura, and then there's another one at the bottom, just here, where you can see my fingers on it. I've just noticed as well that you do have 2 other fan headers down here near the I/O output for your power switch and your reset switch and all that sort of stuff as well. So you've got all of those options. Power around the outside here, you've got an 8+2 phase, 8 phase for the CPU itself, and then you've got 2 phase for the SoC, which is basically the other little bits and bobs that are on the CPU. That really mainly controls things like memory speed and stuff. You don't need the extra any more really than 2 phases, or I've not found a need for any more than 2 phases for the SoC, but you do have 2 good sized MOSFET heat sinks around here. Some of the lower end boards don't have the second heat sink, but where some of the actual main CPU power is actually up on this one, it is good that we have this extra heatsink, and like I said, they're quite beefy. I like the understated look for them as well, keeps it kind of nice and grey and understated. Down here you've got the chipset heatsink. It's quite high up. The eyes just about poke out below a normal dual slot graphics card. I kind of wish it might have actually been a little bit lower, but I understand why they've had it up, and that's so that you can get the M.2 in down the bottom. If you're running a normal dual slot graphics card as well, Your M.2 is going to be way away from all the mess, so you'll get a reasonable amount of airflow over it and you won't get any problems or anything. But if you do have a single-sided M.2 water cool, actually do, and it's called water cool, but it's just a heatsink that clips over the top, do a nice M.2 heatsink. I've tested it, I've done it before. Look for the SSD cooling video, or the M.2 cooling video I should say. Go and have a look at that, because easily takes 10 degrees off your M.2 temps if you are worried about it. Round the back we have two USB 2s at the top, a HDMI, a display port if you are going to be using the onboard video, although I'm not sure many people will be. I certainly haven't used it. Then you've got 6 USB 3s, come up to the USB 3.1 version 2 over here, and you've got a C and an A connector, gigabit Intel Ethernet, and then you've got the output on the back for your digital audio. So yes, it is a strange angle, but the reason why we're down here looking up like this is just to be able to show you the actual chipset heatsink that's underneath. There's no lighting there at all. You do just get the lighting on the actual motherboard itself up in this top left hand corner above the MOSFET heatsink. But one of the things that it does do is it's not just one LED up there, and there's a group of them, and essentially what that does is it means that you get a much more gradual change as you work between them. So with the other boards you would have just had them all the same colour at the same time. Well, this is a lot more faded. Can also mean you can get some funky effects and stuff. Like what I was showing you before, basically. The flash and dash is quite cool, and it does mean that they dance a little bit more. And what you can also do is with the the colour at the back, what you can actually do is change them all to different colours, which I'm just doing off camera now to show you. So you can play around with it a little bit more, but sadly on the board that's the only LEDs that you've got. But you've obviously got, because of the Aura, you get all of the other options. That's G.Skill, Rgb Memory in there. The fans are from Cooler Master, and they all link into the RGB headers as well. Cable mod LEDs at the bottom, and then we've got a Strix graphics card in there. So you can play around with it, and you can, if you want, turn them off as well. But then you've got infinite possibilities about the way that you can set them up and play around with them and set them up to different colours and all that sort of thing. So you can customise it. That's one of the reasons why when I did the RGB rig, because this is the Ryzen gaming build that I did before, I've just swapped the motherboard out. This is why I went all black in there to keep it all monochrome, and then I was just adding the colour in with the rest of the board. So it's like all the other stuff, but I just thought I would give you a little look round so that you get an idea anyway. Okay then, so boiled down performance. Can I do boiled down? Probably not, because I'm already kind of so I do need to crack on. Anyway, so 0401 BIOS, it's the only one on the website at the moment, so it was the one that I ended up testing with. How good is it? Well, one of the things that you do need to remember is when we first got the AM4 stuff and Ryzen first come out, the BIOS, and to be honest with you, a lot of it wasn't really ready because there was quite a rush to get stuff done, so all the engineers were pulling their hair out. Luckily, things have matured quite a lot. So now I can happily say to you with the 0401 BIOS on this, although it's the first one, it's actually quite mature compared to where we were in the first place. 3200 megahertz memory. I don't have a 3200 megahertz kit now that doesn't work in this, or to be honest with you, any of the Asus boards. So I'm talking about Crucial, Kingston, I've got G.Skill stuff, I've got Corsair stuff, I've got some other random stuff that I can't even remember what it's called, and that still works. So memory compatibility has got a lot better, which should make your use at home a lot easier. Do check the QVL though, but if you want to stick with 2 brands, it should be really safe. I would definitely, well, 3 brands, I would say go for Kingston, Corsair or G.Skill. If you want to push past that 3200 megahertz, then you can do, but it does get a little bit more hands-on. 3466 is fairly easy as long as you've got, and I'm talking about if you've got a 3466 memory kit, Don't go buying a 2800 megahertz kit and then moaning that you can't get it above, you know, you can't get 3200 or 3466, because they're not actually, they're binned for the speed that you get in the packet. If you can get further than that, you're just really lucky. You do need to remember that, because I have had a lot of people saying to me, I've got a 2666 kit and I can't get 3200 megahertz running, my board's rubbish. It's probably just that the grade of your memory kit is slightly lower. That's all it is. Do you know what I mean? It's just a case of understanding. Anyway, so 3466, yes, I've got a 3466 kit that I could put in this, clip, do you know what I mean? XMP, Bosch, it run. 3600 megahertz, however, it needed a little bit more of hands-on in the BIOS. So yes, I did get 3 of my 3600 megahertz kits running in this board. I just needed to play around with the SoC volts. Go careful with the SoC volts though, because you don't really want to be going much above 1.2 volts. Don't just put that in though. I say it in every video, you do need to work out what it needs. If you get to 1.2 and you still can't get that glorified memory speed running that you're really after, I would probably just say that it's not going to do it. And that can actually be down to the memory controller on your CPU, not blaming it on the board or BIOS and all that sort of stuff. So there is a lot to consider. Overclocking wise, best I've ever got out of my CPU stable was 4.1 gigahertz, and this managed to do it as well at 1.4 volts. At those kind of volts though, as with all boards, you are going to need decent cooling, so you do need to consider that. When you go into the BIOS, it just looks like Red's ROG BIOS. If you're used to Asus stuff, it'll all be in familiar places. It'll all be called similar things that you're used to. It'll all feel really at home. You won't really think about it a lot. One thing I would do though is, just something that I would suggest everyone does, is manual CPU volts. Get your manual CPU volts tied in and try and work them down, because it will actually save you quite a bit with temps. If you're worried as well, don't forget you can just clear the BIOS. There's a button on the back. You've got a little jumper as well. You can clear the BIOS. It's really not difficult. Although if it does hang and doesn't start, what I would pretty much do is, if it freezes somewhere or doesn't get past the post screen, you've only got to hold the power button on your case, let it shut down, press it again, and 99 times out of 100 it will just post up, say your overclock's failed, and let you back into the BIOS. So it's actually really simple. Again, it's just familiar stuff. So the long and short of it is, it does come in between the sort of prime prices and the Crosshair 6 prices, and it's below £200 at Overclockers, which is a fairly good place, but it is still quite an expensive board. The only kind of negative point that I've really got personally about it is, yet again, I wish there was an RGB light underneath the heatsink, because I do just think it would help balance things out a little bit. And just having it on the top, as I said, with the exact same thing with the Z270 boards, it just feels a bit kind of unfinished, is probably the best way I can put it. If you don't like RGB though, then you can turn those RGBs off. And if you do like RGB, I don't think that's a deal breaker. It just means you're going to have to do what I did and end up getting loads more RGB in the case. One thing I would say though is if you go in RGB, the G-Skill RGB memory is, to be honest with you, about as good as it's going to get on the market at the moment. Corsair do have a version, but you can't have them all dancing and you can't sequence the lights or anything like that. So the Corsair is really only any good if you're just looking for something that you can set as a static. G-Skill just gives you a few more options. It also means if you like red and white, you can have red, white, red, white, red, white, and you can set them all up like that way with the Aura as well. So the Strix AM4, it has been a little bit of a click, do you know what I mean? I've not done an awful lot of benching, but I have been in and I've done gaming benches, and it sits where you would expect. And I've looked at the memory performance and all that sort of stuff, and it's pretty much on par, as in within a whisker of the Crosshair 6. You don't get some of the like glorified features that you get with the Crosshair 6 BIOS, but to be honest with you, most of us aren't going to use that anyway. I think if you get one of these, you're looking at a 1600 or a 1700 with a decent 4 gigahertz overclock, some 3200 megahertz memory, and a decent AIO hanging off of it, so that you can keep that cool and also relatively quiet as well. And then you will be absolutely laughing all of your way to those FPSs in your games. Just stay away from all the kind of fanboy warring stuff at the moment and actually enjoy your PC rather than going around with pickaxes and stuff, because it's starting to get a bit boring. Anyway, right, I really like it. OC3D Enthusiast Award. Do you like it? Did you like the short video? I'm assuming a lot of you are going to be moaning that you've not finished a cup of tea yet. But anyway, this has been Tiny Tom Logan with the Enthusiast Award winning X370 Strix F out. Ding! Did all of this so you could have it before the weekend. Yeah, should have used the remote.